February 11th, 1990, Tokyo, Japan. 23-year-old Mike Tyson in his seventh defense for the title of world champion in super heavyweight. His rival was 29-year-old James "Buster" Douglas. At the time, the number one contender in all rankings was Evander Holyfield, but Tyson had not entered the ring since July of 1989, and Holyfield had fought recently. Because of this, an intermediate option was chosen to lead into the greatly anticipated Tyson versus Holyfield match. In 1987, Douglas had lost to Tony Tucker early in the fight for the vacant IBF title, but after that he won several victories, including defeats over Trevor Burbank and Oliver McCall. But against such a destructive machine as Mike Tyson, Douglas was ranked with a ratio of 42-1. Also, 23 days before the fight, he endured the loss of his mother. He didn't refuse to fight, moreover, according to him, as this sad event gave him decisiveness. As for Tyson, there was chaos in his life before the fight. His divorce from Robin Givens and an internal conflict within his boxing team between Don King and Tyson's manager. Cus D'Amato, with whom Tyson had won most of his battles, was squeezed out of the Tyson team, replaced by Kevin Rooney. What's more, part of Tyson's preparation for the Douglas fight didn't take place in the training room, but instead took place in bars and clubs. Despite the negativity, Tyson's aura overshadowed his personal troubles, and predictions about the fight still centered around when Tyson would knock out Douglas.
Shake hands and good luck, both. Everybody out.
Buster Douglas is a conventional fighter who likes to work behind a stiff left jab.
From the first round, it was apparent that this was not a typical Tyson fight, taking into consideration his other fights of that time period. Iron Mike did not act as dynamically as before. However, Douglas was clearly feeling confident in the ring. Many of Tyson's past rivals lost to him even before the fight began, but there was no hint of anything like that in Douglas's behavior. Douglas moved easily, trying to keep Tyson at a distance using his jab, and if Mike moved in to close the distance, James threw punches in response. Tyson's usual style was one of swinging his torso from side to side, but now acted quite uniformly, approaching his opponent in a straight line, thereby running into the direct hits from Douglas. Whenever Tyson got close, Douglas was waiting with uppercuts and hooks. Tyson was his own worst enemy.
Absorb that kind of a force.
By punch stat computations in the first two rounds.
In round 3, Tyson seemed to gain some momentum, and it appeared he was going to turn the fight around.
Because that jeopardizes you, puts you in a lot of trouble.
Douglas accurate with the jab.
Let's back up. What's Douglas doing? He's not allowing Mike, again, the yell from Tyson's corner,
Good solid left jab by Douglas. Tyson grazed him with the right.
Round 4 started uneventfully, but the pace picked up as Douglas presented his best.
You must change.
As you did.
Yes. Good enough hook by
Douglas
Douglas.
again with a left and a right, and now Tyson lands a right hand and backs Buster up, but here he comes.
Mike throws his punch. Mike has dropped his hands.
Probably the most intense viewer of this fight was Evander Holyfield, who was guaranteed $12 million for a fight with Tyson after 4 months, but on the condition that Mike won against Douglas. However, Holyfield's hope of a fight with Tyson was becoming smashed. In round 5, Douglas beat Tyson heartily, and as a result, Tyson suffered a cut above his left eye. Tyson's coaches, Aaron Snowell and Jay Bright, used ice to control the swelling.
It's the best opponents. This is even better news than that from his point of view. And he is swelled up.
If anything, his dominance is increasing.
Again, the lead-off rights. I'm very surprised they're landing like they are. As long as Douglas stay there, he's going to play right into Mike Tyson's hands. But the thing about it is, Jim and Ray.
Douglas felt at ease against Tyson's actions, since Tyson acted with single blows and not with 2 or 3 shot combinations, that were followed by a clinch. Tyson's action defied logical explanation, possibly blamed on poor physical preparation.
Eerily silent. Douglas with another right hand. Douglas partially connected. Left jab, right on Tyson's face.
This is the first
Speech at a time when Liston was regarded as invincible. You have to go back that far to find something this shocking in a heavyweight title fight.
no combination by Mike Tyson.
In round 8, Tyson did not pick up much activity or speed, but carried out some good explosive attacks. There was hope that Mike might be able to save his titles by using these explosive attacks.
Well, he's asking some questions of Tyson that Tyson hasn't been asked before. In the second half of the fight,
Hitting on the break, Moran didn't say a word to him about it. Well, there's just no question which is the more confident fighter now. You see how easily Douglas is dominating the action inside.
and Tyson is holding on.
Then, when Douglas gets too close, Tyson inflicts a right uppercut on the attack, knocking Douglas down.
Against the rope, I've never seen.
And there's a right hand uppercut, and down goes Douglas. As suddenly as that.
The referee controversially counts very slowly, and by all accounts, it took 13 seconds between the moment when Douglas fell to the floor and the moment he got up. Some believe that Douglas was using the maximum amount of time he could to wait out the end of the round before rising. Judging by his first movements, he could have risen earlier. This all happened in the last seconds of the round, and Tyson simply did not have enough time to do something. But still, the referee's slow countdown made this episode one of the most famous of all the controversial episodes in boxing history.
Trying to bait him to come in and to relax, because that was the effect of it. Came off the ropes with that terrific right uppercut.
Energized after the break, Tyson seems to set his mind on success, but Douglas goes on the counterattack and shocks Tyson. Buster Douglas was probably no less tired than Tyson. Nevertheless, he absolutely did not want to give up. Although, of course, Tyson in this fight was not the same Tyson who mercilessly beat opponents and seemed invulnerable. At that moment, Iron Mike Tyson, in front of the eyes of astonished spectators around the world, was no longer the animal from before. Instead, he became ordinary, and Douglas ruthlessly beat him. Tyson begins the 10th round with a powerful right cross, but this is the last successful attack from the absolute world champion, who is now exhausted both from damage and from missed blows. A right uppercut, now performed by Douglas, shocks Tyson, and Douglas begins a combination that puts an end to one of the brightest careers in the history of not only super heavyweight boxing, but boxing in general. Few people pay attention to this, but the referee does a slow countdown of Tyson's knockdown, just as he had done for Douglas, and it lasts the same 13 seconds. But this extra time doesn't help Tyson, who is trying his best but is not able to continue. Larry Merchant, in a live television broadcast, called the result of this fight the greatest upset in boxing history.
Well, what surprised you from the get-go? What were you going to try to do from the get-go?
That's what I did, whip his ass. You know, I mean, you come to fight, I come to fight. I told you in the room, I said, it was time for James Douglas to come out of the closet.
But it seems you had
You know, I told you that I also had times where I had great fights that would come back with 2 or 3 different fights that was mediocre, you know, and I would leave a lot of doubt. I don't blame you guys. You guys go on what you see, you understand? But I know, and my people know, that's what the real James Douglas is all about.
Every challenger for Mike Tyson says the same thing, but you did something in there to neutralize him.
Why my nose?
Thank you, Jesus.
Evander, your reaction to what you just saw?
Well, it was a great fight on Douglas' part. He went out and fought his fight and fought a very smart fight, and he proved that he wanted to be the champion.
We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please press the like button and leave your comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any interesting videos. Take care, and we'll see you next time.